All right. You can't really imagine what it's like sleeping in this modern times in a house when it's 11 degrees night after night for several nights, and you have no heat and there's no prospects for heat. It's just not really something we can imagine. And we just went through that experience like so many in the region have, particularly our friends in Nashville. But our community where we live, Oxford, Mississippi, the National Weather Service made this map where they charted from Louisiana up through Nashville all the way into the Carolinas of how much ice accumulation on trees and there was. And there was this little tiny white X right on this one spot, Oxford, Mississippi, which made us ground zero for this. And as many of you know, for 2 weeks now, when we're recording this, we're just 1 week out. But the University of Mississippi is closed for 2 weeks. Our public schools and all of our schools are closed for 2 weeks. In the community, it's as if a Category 2 or Category 3 hurricane hit us. And in these moments, you have to try to grapple and make sense of the fact of, sure, I shouldn't feel too bad about this. I mean, we're okay. But at the same time, what happens is real and you feel it. You have property damage, you're thrown out of your routine, and people are struggling around you. Your community's struggling. It's the David Magee Show. We're talking about how we navigate these unexpected storms that come in life. With me is Kent Magee, my wife. For 30-something years, we've been navigating these storms. I think we're getting better.
I think we are. I think you get a little better sometimes with practice when things don't go as you planned or you didn't see coming, storms you didn't see coming. Some comes with practice, and I think some comes just with age. It helps it gets easier to keep things in perspective. Like we're safe. We are not in immediate harm's way, even if we're very, very cold and, things are crashing down all around us outside. But yeah, we've come through the hardest part of that.
So we get in this storm, and so I'm a weather guy. It's, as some people know, and I'm pretty obsessive about the weather. And I knew ice was coming. I mean, it was forecast 100%. There was no question. I was adamant, though, that it would not be this bad. And here's why. Because in 1994, I lived through in Oxford, Mississippi. It was another time that we had this fluke happen where we were at the little X, where this kind of dynamic cooling event happened in pouring rain, which turned to freezing ice and inches piled up on trees. We were without power at that time for 17 days, different infrastructure, different times, but it was serious. And it was so incredibly disruptive, and it was called a storm of a lifetime. It's been forecast over the 32 years since, a couple or a few times since, but it never happens because it literally takes a perfect storm. And we've had ice storms. We haven't had that. And you and I went to bed on Saturday night after we'd had a couple of inches of sleet on Saturday, and it was the typical southern ice storm-ish. Sleet, ground covered, sleet pretending it's snow, everything's white. And at about 10:30 that night, it started to rain. Boom. Oh, the electricity goes out. We wake up that morning, and you get up early, and I come in, and it's still dark outside, and there's lightning and thunder. And it's not like thunder snow where it happens once. It's goes on for 2-3 hours. And I was so mesmerized by that beauty. But for 2 to 3 hours, it's pouring rain in like flash, 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 boom, boom, thunder, and it's freezing. And then we hear the snaps and the pops and the limbs start to go. And we built this new house 5-6 years ago, and you and I are watching through the windows all these 150-year-old cedar trees, which we love in our yard. Limbs are falling, and one hits our house. And I start telling myself, this doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're okay. but I'm not going to lie. I mean, we do love our house. It kind of did matter.
Yeah, it was a little scary when you can feel the ground actually shake, almost like a slight little earthquake shake when such a huge tree or branch falls off a tree. Yeah, it was a little rattling. And little did we know that we were set off into 4 days. I guess were without power. Many in our community were out longer than that. Like you said, it gets easier when you go through something like an unexpected storm in life. And one of the ways I think you learn things along the way, one thing that I've learned from the trials that we've gone through are, it's helpful just to, in the middle of the throes of, just the worry and the fear and all, is there's people around you that are suffering a lot worse. So find some gratitude for, I have a good friend who a huge tree fell, smashed through their roof.
Which made our little hole, our 10-foot hole small,
Right.
I guess.
Another
right?
friend that had just gotten a new car and worked hard to get that car, and it was this parked on the street, and a giant tree just smashed it flat. So we're safe, and it's always something to come back to stay grounded in a time of kind of chaos around you, to find some gratitude, even if it's for something small.
Yeah. And I did that, but I think you referred to me once in the first day of the power being out. And so again, we've had plenty of times with the power out, but you knew it hit, and we knew this is going to be a long time. And the temperature was plummeting. Those were record cold nights for that time here, near record lows. And so the temperature starts plummeting, and one day it doesn't get near freezing for a high. The low, several nights is cold. The temperature starts plummeting. We have a hole in our roof from a tree that splits off and hits it.
Pretty small hole, but yes.
Well, 10 foot wide.
Right.
Well, see, there's your gratitude, and I appreciate that.
Water pours through and you see the sky up.
No.
It's just more tore the gutters off, tore the corner off.
But there's a hole in. Yeah. It's not like straight up to the roof, and I appreciate your glass half full of that. And it is a 10-foot wide hole. Let's be clear, but I think your point is well taken. Other people have worse. And the garage is our cars. We can't flee because our cars' limbs have fallen. A power line is down. It's blocked. People were saying, flee, get to the beach, get somewhere. And I said, we can't. And they closed the interstates. We were in lockdown, nowhere to go. And you referred to me once as David's like a caged animal, because I'm pacing around. And I'm just thinking, okay, I've seen my weather phenomenon. I am a weather guy. I've seen my phenomenon. I need out of here. I need to get where it's warm. And when this is all over, I want to come back and clean up the mess. And this is how two people can be so different in a marriage. You, on the other hand, Kent, are, well, I have things in the freezer I need to organize. We have house damage. I am better and more comfortable sitting through this. So I guess that's what you do in yoga. You sit through your discomfort, and you're like,
sure, it's a good practice. But, in times of chaos and storms like this, one thing to observe that I've observed with us, and I feel like other people probably too, you're like these traits, these deep character traits, just want to kind of rise to the surface. And yours... You're a fixer. I mean, that's one of your, that's not a negative trait. That's just a trait of you. You, like, if I come home a little upset or down about a certain thing that happened, or I don't know, just any little thing, if I tell you about it, usually your response is, well, you just, you
moving
have
straight
a
to the
list of
solution.
A, B, and C
Right.
you have to do, and then, just fix, this will fix it. And we've had that conversation a lot of times. Sometimes I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to hear me,
Sure,
and take it in. But still, you're a good advice giver. And actually, so many people I've known over the years come to you for advice, rather, young people that we know, even family members, friends,
If they
about
want out
career
of it,
advice,
right.
or about what should I do about this, that, I don't know, for some reason people come to you for advice
I
a
think
lot
it's because I am a fixer, because I have a plan.
You at least sound like you have a plan.
Sure.
I guess you do but you do. And because you like to fix things. And if you get thrown in an environment, you really can't fix it, or you can't fix it today.
I guarantee you, I could not fix this
like
historic
that storm
ice storm.
that we were,
My
but we're
gosh.
stuck here, and it's really cold, and it's going to be days until we have heat or lights, and
Or food.
our trees are
No,
blocking
we
our
did have
driveway.
food to eat,
we
but
had
freezer
plenty food.
Sure.
That nobody was going to get hungry.
Nobody was
It
starving.
may not be our food of choice.
Yeah,
Yes, we were
that's
kind of
right.
digging
It
deep
was
in
out
the
of our
freezer
comfort life,
and
right.
then the pantry. But that it just personality traits come out, and
Yours is hunker down. Mine's like, let's get out of here and come back
I
and
feel
clean
like
up
I
later.
can hunker down through. I'd like to know what I just couldn't hunker down.
No, I've
through.
seen you hunker down
You know?
through a lot.
For your choice of words, hunker down. But I could. I mean, because I know, like, well, we're not going to be here for a month without,
Right.
eventually somebody's going to come
No, it was cold.
get, it's not long lasting, too
Right.
long. But yeah, I was pretty uncomfortable.
It was uncomfortable. And we get used
and,
to
and
our comfort.
tired. And then you get, and that's the same, this was a weather storm, other storms that we've been through that were not weather induced, Yes, after such a period of time, which usually those do stretch on, you also just become tired.
Yes.
Physically
weary from it.
tired
Yeah,
and mentally
right.
tired. And that's how we were, like, I guess about day 4 of
Right.
no power, no heat, and no solutions, and not really seeing when exactly the light was going to be at the end of the tunnel. We realized, like, I'm also just very physically tired and just very mentally tired, and have little, and
Our patience became frayed
we were
because we were
starting to get a little
caged.
grouchy,
Yeah,
with
with one
each other,
another.
and we could sort of laugh about it, but the grouchy was real.
It was real. I felt it, and so I'll paint the picture. Like, for like a lot of people, the first day you said, "Look, let's make this fun." And when I'm pacing around, "Let's get out of here," I heard you and I said, "Okay, we'll make this fun." So when it's time to go to bed and the temperature's going 14 degrees, 13 degrees, 12 degrees, and the house is catching up fast, we still had some charger in our phone, and you come on like, "Look, here's how you stay warm. You just get close to somebody in the bed and you get a big stack of layered covers." And so we did that, and it was fun, and we slept amazing. And we have 2 dogs, and they're usually in their crate, and they were so cold they would not stay in the crate. They're banging to get out. So we let them under the covers. So we have this, what is our new family, you, I, and 2 dogs, all under these covers, and we slept amazing. And the first night we did. And then you wake up and you're having lukewarm coffee after boiling water in the house. You're looking at your breath that you see with every breath, and the hours go on. And then by the next night, we don't sleep really well at all, and we've never warmed up, and you're digging through the freezer for food, and we're making do. But then by the 4th day you refer to, it has turned into fatigue, and we're grouchy with one another because we want it to end. And so I went through 2 things at that time. Number one, I again wanted to fix it because I was tired of it. And I started talking about, well, we could just leave again. Let's just get out here and come back. So I go back to that where I'd started 4 days ago. And that certainly probably added to the tension of it. And then I realized, as I'm talking to you and their frustration, I could see in your eyes I looked at you finally, I said, "Right, this isn't even about this. I love you, you love me. We're doing this storm together. there's just other things coming up. And then you were like, yeah. What I had to tell myself is there's a lot more happening with you. It's when people go through trauma, it doesn't have to be a page one news crime that you've suffered, and everybody can else be suffering the same thing, but you feel it, you're living in it, and it conjures up images of past traumas. And I looked at you and I said, I realized we're not even fighting. We're not even grumpy about this.
I heard a therapist saying, I think during this time, that that it's a sign that your body is still holding on to past trauma, and your mind is holding on to past trauma. If, like during times of crisis and chaos, all of a sudden it rises up and just starts talking to you, the prior trauma that you maybe thought, I really hadn't come back to that in a long time, or how did that even come to mind right now? But yeah, on our like day 4, when I've said we're getting kind of started to get a little grouchy, it did. I remember it, and I was just tired, and physically and mentally, and we were getting a little testy. And I remember it just came to my mind, I just wish William hadn't died. That just came, which is our son who died, 13 years ago. But I just thought, I just wish, that just came to mind. And it's sort of like,
right, we're in the middle of this, right. It's no longer about the house has been damaged and we've cleared out the freezer and we've been cold for 4 days.
Think you were like, what?
And suddenly you're feeling this feeling of, oh my gosh, my son died.
Yeah.
Why did that have to happen?
It's just kind of crazy how your mind works when it holds on. And we do. I mean, and because I'll always have that's a piece of trauma that I'm never going to completely shed, and something else kind of triggered me about another case, but I am, I guess, proud that we kind of talked it through.
What we were able to do is look at one another just like we're talking now, and we began to shift the conversation to that.
Right, which is the benefit of having worked with a therapist, which I have and we have, and almost when you kind of are in this circle in the drain moment a little bit, and traumas are like talking to you. Just what I do is just almost picture that person, your counselor, sitting right there, across from you, and you just kind of take the conversation to where it would be if you were in their room, in their office.
So in other words, you put a different face on me and you see a therapist.
Yeah. I mean, it's what it's called becoming less reactionary and
right.
just responding. And that's what I think the work is to do. Anytime you're in a chaos and crisis, you want to just less become just reacting here, reacting there. Reactions so often are just purely emotional, and they're not, they're not in the solution at all.
And they're pointed, when we react, we point at other people.
Right. And what the work to do is to respond and be in communication and staying in the solution of being in the moment where you are. So, we kind of talked it through.
We shifted it from the tension of complaining, feeling frustrated that I want to leave, you don't, and we realized this has nothing to do with that. We're here, we both want to be here, we both want to be together, be it here, or had we left to go somewhere else, what we were frustrated about was just a lot of feelings that bubbled up from past things. And again, I had to tell myself, because we have been through a lot, and everybody has. I mean, we're no different than a lot of people. We've been through a lot. People go through a lot in a lifetime. And because we've been through a lot, like others, I tend to want to tell myself when something like this happens, well, this is nothing because we've done that. And it was important for me in that moment to stop and kind of say to myself, this actually is something. I'm frustrated because our community that we always brag about our community, about its trees. We brag. I feel a pride about our yard because of its 150-year-old plus trees, and they receive serious damage. A house can be fixed, but it, would probably cost us $20,000. That's money. I'm not going to enjoy that. And I don't enjoy being cold. I think I told you, and I told our son Hudson, after we'd camped out, into our fourth day, if somebody right now, I mean, nobody was, but if somebody right now called me and said, hey, David, I mean, you've won the lottery. I have a jet that's going to fly you and your family to Aspen for 4 days, expense-free skiing, I would say, absolutely not. Or there's this duck hole that has all the ducks flying in. Can you come hunt at 5 a.m? I would say, absolutely not. I cannot be cold. I cannot be cold for a long time. Our power came on. I'm walking around turning up the thermostat like I am old, but an older person, and what we in our community experienced and what our friends in Nashville have likewise experienced. I saw someone I know in Nashville just ripping and roaring on social media, talking about how absolutely awful all the repair people were and everything about the electric system. And, maybe there's some issues there to look into. I don't live there. I don't know. But what I do know is mostly good people have been working to try to get people back online. And that's just our frustration, our emotion of being just ripped out of our environment. And maybe it's a smaller T trauma. It's still trauma nonetheless.
Right. And, to be philosophical about it, life is just really a steady parade of unexpected storms. I always think if I could tell advice to any young couple, to us as a young couple, like you just can never imagine what life is going to bring to you. It's going to be things you never saw, never planned, and things that feel like in the middle of it is just the end of the world. And, the biggest crisis that you probably think you'll never recover from. But, with time and practice, you realize we're pretty resilient. We are. And then when it's over, and sometimes even in the middle of it, it's just cool to look around and see how good things can come out of a crisis like this. And, we've said that a lot about, like, after losing William, how our family came together more.
Absolutely.
And how we've all then even more so dug deeper to find purpose and meaning in our lives and in our relationships. And we didn't want that last dark day when he left us to be where we stayed and to be the final piece of the story. We were determined not to let it be the final piece of the story. And I think taken from that, you can apply that to like every situation, every storm that comes. Like this storm, I mean, and we're still in it. I have a friend that just got power back this morning.
And some that still don't.
This would be like day 7. And there are people out in the county that still don't. But, being able to look at good things that come, it's both. It like everything. Like I have a friend that's young and fit and just stepped outside his front door to let his dog go to the bathroom one night, slipped on that ice and broke his leg in 3 places, and then like the same night, however, a friend who's been going through a hard time and was pretty estranged from his family, all in town, all without power. And one family member had a generator, and they all congregated together and have stayed together during the last 4 or 5 days. And it's just kind of been a real time of healing and reconnection and
community.
In them, their family, getting back together, because they were brought together by this storm, and who knows
Right.
how long that estrangement would have lasted if not. But like, that's
Before
a
the
beautiful
storm,
thing that
yeah.
came out of this storm, you know. And another friend, like I said, their car was smashed, and then on the other hand, things like this really, it's kind of heartwarming to see like neighbors and community all like
You're right.
wanted to do something to help older people that don't have food, even the moms and people around town, you know, going to get a big box of Chick-fil-A and just driving it around, giving it to line workers and you know, street clearing crews, and they're just so appreciative. And it's just kind of to see a community pull together. It takes something like when people are down on their knees for people to come together and pull others up, you know. So like everything, it's just, there's a lot of hardship that come with storms. There can be a lot of good that comes from any storm you go through.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And in our community, because we live in a college community, and we're thankful that we have the William Magee Center here, named after our late son at Ole Miss, which helps students, and you're on that advisory board. And, you know, to have the university canceled for 2 weeks, but not every student could flee and leave town, because that takes either car or a plane ticket, or so many are still here, and they're here for 2 weeks and they can't go to work, and they can't. So the needs are so high. And, you know, you were telling me about just some of the role the Magee Center played. Again, we don't always think about it. That's like in our house. Yeah, we did get a 10-foot gash in the side of our house. Okay, but we're fine. The house is dry. We're okay. There are literally people, and young people in particular, which makes it harder, thinking about, I need food. I absolutely need some warmth.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't have anybody in 2 dogs to get up in 4 blankets.
Right. And funds are running out.
And funds are running out.
Yeah, so there are a lot of students in crisis. So
yeah, so the Magee Center created to help students with substance misuse. What I love about it, the team under Dr. Nick McAfee, and they have this amazing group, and they're so caring, and so they were able to step up and fill this role of being helping facilitate and keep the list of students who need help, who need money for food, who need shelter, need transportation, whatever it is, mostly money for different things, because they haven't been able to go to work or they can't get a paycheck. And it is so exciting to see that role in a time like this that they weren't even created to. I think it warmed my heart more than anything. And, you know, as you said, it's one of the silver linings of community. Well, look, here's the thing. I'm so glad we got to do it together. As you said, we've been 30 something years now. How many? This January, 30, how many years was that?
37
88. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So a lot of years. And so we've been through some storms, as you know, but this one, we handled it well, except for those few moments, but it does provide growth. And even for us, after nearly 4 decades, we will have other storms. We will have other ones.
And as you're closing, I'll add a really interesting thing I heard. I was listening to a radio show yesterday, and there was a master arborist on talking about what to do to your trees with this ice damage and first steps to take. And I had seen that was going to be on, so I made sure to listen at the right time, because like we said, this has been a huge part of the storm in this town, with big, beautiful old trees in our neighborhood and all throughout town that are, you know, that have really taken a hard hit. Well, it was interesting. He said, you know, every tree, if you look at, especially a bigger, older tree that's lived a long life, it has a story to tell. And if you look up, you know, up the sides, up the top, the canopy, There's probably big scars where it's lost branches before in storms. It might have, a drooping branch here, or, how the canopy's shaped. It all depends on what goes on around the tree during its lifetime. But he said there's so much to learn from a tree because they all have a story. And, if you lose a huge branch from this ice storm, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the end of your tree story. His warning was, don't be too quick to cut down, start just thinking, I got to cut this tree down. It lost a giant branch. He said trees are very resilient, and, give them some time. And I think he had a huge statistic, 75-80%, they're going to be fine.
Wow.
And I thought that's really just kind of a cool parallel to when we tell our story a lot, which you tell it a lot. You've written a book about, losing our son, and we get invited to tell the story a lot, just breaking the stigma of addiction. And, we say that, I tell people all the time, everybody has a story. Yeah, we're telling ours, but everybody has a story, and everybody has an important story. And everybody could look back and find parts of their story that are a big scar that's still there, and it's still with them. And then they'll find another part of their story where maybe that scar was the instigator for a whole new branch of work and fulfillment and happiness that they never even saw coming. And it all kind of was brought back together through that tree parallel, which I thought was really fitting in the time.
It's how we grow in the unexpected storms. It's the David Magee Show. We're so glad you listened, and we're back in the groove now. We had a week off for the storm. We had no power, but we're back in business now, so we'll be back next week with another episode. I hope you'll check it out, and we'll see you then.